Nipsey Hussle, LA 2019. Nipsey Hussle was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. He grew up around Crenshaw and did not only rap about Crenshaw, he invested heavily in Crenshaw. A member of the Rollin' 60s, Nipsey Hussle spoke out against rappers who would boast of their gang affiliations to stunt or look cool. He never wished them any violence, but reminded them of the real reason people join gangs: survival. Nipsey was well known in the underground scene and was even gaining mainstream following before that unfortunate day. Known as a man of the people, Nipsey had grounds that young people often gathered to hang around. So, it was unfortunate that on March 31st, 2019, two other people died alongside Nipsey outside his Marathon clothing store. He was the target, and later, the streets heard that there were conversations about snitching that led to his death. Young Dolph, Memphis 2021. In 2017, there was an attempt on Young Dolph's life in Hollywood. The rapper sustained 3 gunshot wounds and spent weeks recovering in the hospital. No one suspected that it would be hit closer to home. Born in Chicago, 1985, Adolph Robert Thornton Jr. spent most of his life in Memphis. Young Dolph already made his name in the streets, making music with famous acts, a rapper with street credibility who wasn't afraid of letting everyone know of his fearless Memphis roots. Young Dolph built his empire in Memphis without a major label. He ran Paper Route Empire and carried himself as King of Memphis. That was even the name of his debut album. However, that crown came with enemies, especially with Yo Gotti and CMG. When Young Dolph was fatally shot in 2021, he was only buying cookies at Makita's in Memphis, his favorite bakery whenever he was back home. Witnesses said he was alone without security when a Mercedes pulled up with 2 gunmen, and he was gunned down. Young Dolph was 36 at the time of his death and was survived by 2 children, Julio Fulio, Tampa 2024. Born Charles Andrew Jones, Fulio made his name as a troll of dead rivals in his music and videos. Around Jacksonville, he was known to always be involved in high-profile feuds with other rappers while still linked to local gang activities. Fulio grew up in the Moncrief neighborhood and was a member of the 6-block set of the street gang known as Kill Them All. His music reflected his lifestyle, and songs like When I See You mocked losses on the other side. On his 26th birthday, Fulio went live, showing his hotel room and updating fans of his whereabouts. Perhaps he had no idea he was informing the ops too, and only after hours of his latest post, gunmen ambushed him in a parking lot in Tampa and killed him. His death was the climax of the politics that went on in Jacksonville. Fulio just couldn't survive his own city feud. Mo 3, Dallas 2020. Mo 3 had one of the most unique voices in Dallas rap, cause he mixed pain, melody, and street reality in every track. Born in 1992 as Melvin Abdul Noble Jr., Mo 3 moved to North Dallas from a young age and spent most of his life there. He released his debut mixtape in 2014, where he mentioned his previous affiliations with the North Dallas-based mobsters. Melvin's music reflected his background, and he was open about trying to always distance himself from them. However, that couldn't save him from conflicts with Trap Boy Freddy and Yella Beezy. Their background beef suddenly became open warfare that the entire city of Dallas watched live. On November 11, 2020, he was chased down the R13 freeway by another vehicle. This made him stop his car in the center lane of the highway, only to be approached by gunmen. He tried to retrieve his weapon but couldn't, so he thought to run by foot. He was chased and shot multiple times with a rifle before the gunman escaped in a Camaro. The entire city of Dallas watched horrified to see how a hometown star was hunted down in traffic. Proof, Detroit, 2006. Born Deshaun Dupree Holton in 1973. Detroit, Michigan, Proof led the face of Detroit rap before Eminem. Proof was a glue to the city's hip-hop scene, and as a member of D12, he connected Detroit's underground battle circuits. He hosted open mics at the hip-hop shop and was the first person who pushed Eminem to chase rap seriously. Proof was more than a rapper in Detroit. He was an ambassador of a whole movement, and he so loved Detroit because even after touring the globe, he always came back home, walking the same streets and hitting the same clubs. That loyalty felt a part of what made him vulnerable. On April 11, 2006, Proof was at the CCC Club on Detroit's 8 Mile when a heated argument broke out during a pool game. Shots were fired. Proof got hit. Nobody knew exactly who pulled first, but by the end of the chaos, Proof had been shot multiple times. He was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. Proof was 32 at the time, and his death was devastating because the entire Detroit rap community felt it. M secluded for months, and for fans, they lost the heart of Detroit's rap family. Jada Youngin, Louisiana, 2022. Javorius Tykes. Scott was born on July 15, 1998, and only lived till 2022. He had hits and a growing fan base, but couldn't outrun the street affiliations of Louisiana. Born in Bogalusa, Louisiana, he played high school basketball and had intentions of joining the NBA, but he was kicked out of the team and he chose a rap career instead. In Louisiana, he had well-known street ties that eventually cost his life. He had a beef tied to NBA YoungBoy and his affiliates, and words carried that it could have caused his death because on July 27, 2022, he was shot in a devastating manner. Jay was sitting on the front lawn of his home with his father when 3 gunmen got out of a black truck close to their house. Jay and his father tried to run into their home, but 2 more gunmen appeared from the side of the house and opened fire. Jay's father shot back in self-defense, but Jay got hit 8 times. He died at a local hospital in Bogalusa. But a lot happens in Jacksonville, Louisiana. Big L, Harlem, 1999. Born Lamont Coleman in Harlem, New York, Big L remains in the conversation of one of the greatest MCs in rap history. Big L was one of the MVPs in Harlem, and he helped shape what is rap in New York today. He was one of the sharpest lyricists, and his influence ran deep in New York and beyond, down on all the Eminems of the world. And his flamboyant swag and style, bred in Harlem, echoes decades later within Dave East and A$AP Rocky. On February 11, 1999, Big L was gunned down at just 24 years old. It was a year after he had released the final classic single of his career. The drive-by shooting happened at 45 West 139th Street in Harlem, and Big L was reportedly shot 9 times in the face and chest. One of his childhood friends got arrested, then later released because there wasn't enough evidence. Later in 2016, the accused was found dead. Soulja Slim, New Orleans, 2003. James Darrell Tapp Jr. is better known by his stage name, Soulja Slim. Born in 1977, he made music that once peaked at the top of the Billboard 100. No Limit and Cash Money at the time were among the dominant rap record labels that led Southern rap and brought it into the new millennium. But the 2 record labels were great rivals that went without a collaboration for most of their glory years. Soulja Slim was one of those whose mark brought both labels together in a remarkable feature. On November 26, 2003, Soulja Slim was shot dead in his mother's home in New Orleans. At just 26 years old, he died after someone shot him 4 times in the front lawn of the home. In the wake of his death, Slow Motion, one of his records, gained steam on urban radio, hitting #1 at the Billboard Hot 100. His killer was arrested, but never convicted. Eventually, he was also found murdered years later. Bankroll Fresh, Atlanta, 2016. Bankroll Fresh was meant to be Atlanta's next star. Born Trentavious White in 1987, Atlanta was all he knew, and he came up repping the city's trap culture with an energy that felt like intense yet cool. He had charisma, made hits like Hot Boy, and had the cosigns he needed to be a star. Bankroll Fresh was signed to Street Execs, which was co-founded by 2 Chainz. He was a known 2 Chainz affiliate who grew up in Zone 3 on the west side of Atlanta, an area known for rough energy and rough environment, a place where everything underworld happened, and Fresh was never far from his roots. On March 4th, 2016, a fight broke out in front of Street Exec's studio in Atlanta. Fresh was in altercation with a fellow rapper and childhood friend. Gunfire broke out, and over 50 shell casings were expelled. Fresh got hit fatally. Fresh died in the same city where he built his name, a reminder of how close rap is to the streets in Atlanta. Doughboy Rock, Detroit, 2017. Doughboy Rock was part of the Detroit rap outfit. Doughboy Cash Out formed in 2006. The rap group seemed to be living up to their name after years of hard work when they got signed in 2013 by Jeezy. Doughboy Ross was one of the group's standout rappers, the self-proclaimed mayor of the Mo. Rock was still waiting on his big break when he was gunned down in broad daylight on October 9, 2017. He died on the west side of Detroit, sitting in his car. At the time of his death, he was only 29 years old and a target of a DEA probe. Lil Jojo, Chicago, 2012. Lil Jojo was born Joseph Coleman in 1994, Chicago. His death received wide coverage as one of the results of gang violence in Chicago. Lil Jojo was 18 when he shook up Chicago Drill, a gangster disciple. He often taunted his ops, including the likes of Chief Keef and others. He cemented himself as a fierce rival to one of the most revered figures in Chicago Drill, dropping diss tracks back-to-back aimed at Chi-Town rappers and black disciple killers. On September 4th, 2012, JoJo allegedly posted a tweet with his location marked. Soon, he was gunned down while riding his bike in Englewood. After news of Joe's death spread, Chief Keef mocked him with a tweet, and it only marked how desensitized Chicago kids are to violence. Chicago was buzzing with drill at the time, but JoJo's death reminded everyone that Chicago's music and the streets often walk together. No formal investigation was made on the case. Magnolia Shorty, New Orleans, 2010. Renetta Lowe, popularly known as Magnolia Shorty, was a New Orleans bounce royalty. She signed with Cash Money in her teens and carried the Magnolia Projects in her name and in her music. By the late 2000s, she was already a veteran still holding down the local scene. Unfortunately, on December 20th, 2010, Magnolia was gunned down in New Orleans with over 24 bullets. She was back at her apartment for something before her journey to Miami when another car came behind her, blocking her in. Two gunmen got out of the car and started shooting. Magnolia was killed with Jerome Hampton in the car with her, in the parking lot of the gated apartment complex she lived in. At only 28, she was killed in the same place she represented her whole life. XXXXTentacion, Florida, 2018. Jassa Dwayne Onfroy needs no introduction, as he had one of the most polarizing voices of his generation. Born in 1998, Florida, Jassa turned raw emotion and pain into soundtracks for millions of young fans who always felt like outsiders. His career took off like a meteor, all from SoundCloud, with anthems that rocked the world. But he was also a controversial person who got involved in a lot of legal troubles, which increased his cult following among young fans. He was outspoken about mental health, and his music followed a unique theme that just seemed to resonate. 3X's lived on that precipice of genius and chaos. Despite his rise, X never left his home base. He still hung around the same places he's always been, visited the same local spots, and that got to him. On June 18, 2018, he visited a motorsports company, and as he was pulling out of the place, a dark SUV boxed him in. Two armed men rushed to his car, demanded that he give them his LV bag and the $50,000 cash inside. X naturally resisted. They opened fire, and just like that, at 20 years old, he was gone, shot dead in the same area he dreamt of rap stardom. Shawty Lo, Georgia, 2016. Carlos Rico Walker was better known as Shawty Lo across Atlanta. He was raised in Bankhead, and he co-founded D4L, helping to pioneer the snap movement in ATL with Laffy and Taffy. He came with a unique voice, swagger, and ad-libs that quickly set him apart. Soon he released a track that became Atlanta's biggest anthem in the late 2000s, and it was clear from there that Shawty Lo didn't just rap about Bankhead, he lived it. His neighbor, his pride of honor. On September 21st, 2016, Shawty Lo left Blue Flame Lounge around 2 a.m. when his vehicle veered off the road and hit a tree. The car burst into flames, taking him away at 40 years old. Lo's death shocked the entire city because he was more than a rapper. He stood as a representative of where he came from.